speaking of moms.
Yes, if you have teens or if you have tweens living at home, you are probably always telling them to put down their cell phone. It's a battle.
Ongoing battle. Cell phone usage has dramatically increased over the last 10 years, as you could probably imagine. In fact, according to an article in this month's edition of Arizona Parenting Magazine, 78% of teens between the ages of 12 and 18 have a cell phone. Actually, I thought it would be higher than that.
Yeah, me too. Well, our first guest is here to teach us appropriate cell phone use for kids and teens. This is Dr. Lisa Smith. She coaches and she counsels parents on how to monster-proof your child. So great to see you. And you've got quite a range of kids.
I do have a range from 27 all the way down to 9. So
wow.
we've been there, done that, and now we're still doing it.
Yeah,
so
battling the battle.
We are battling the battle of the cell phone.
The first question a parent may want to know, what's the appropriate age to give in and get a cell phone for your child?
Sure, and first of all, you have to ask yourself, is it a want or a need? Every child that comes out of the womb wants a cell phone. So it's really a matter, is it a want or a need? Assess that. And then you ask, we have to keep in mind that the skull of the child is thinner, and so all of those rays coming in from that cell phone will permeate that brain a lot quicker, so we want to keep that cell phone away from the head. So then you need to ask, how responsible is my child? If they can't find their shoes in the morning, probably not ready for a cell phone.
Good
you know?
point.
So it's a matter of want or need, and then assess it from there.
You know what the hard part, though, is I remember trying to hold off as long as I possibly could. Everybody else has one.
Right.
And that's what you keep hearing. Well, everybody else has one. Right. But I'd always say, well, then use theirs.
Yeah. If everyone has one, you don't need one to call me, right? There you go. And so that's never a good reason to give in. However, if you find that you need to, there are several ways that you can do that. You can get a phone that only has your number, dad's number, and grandma's number in it. You can also use some of the cell phone carriers have parental controls. You can shut it off during particular times. You can have a little bit of control over that if you decide, okay, I'm just going to give in.
Well, you know, Dr. Smith is really, really good at this. She has parameters, very simple steps you can take all the way down to giving your child a contract.
Absolutely. There are a lot of contracts out there. I have one on my website as well. It's real easy. You download, you fill in the blanks, and it's a matter of, okay, unplug at night. We have a docking station, and parents have to really adhere to this as well, because children do what we do, not what we say.
Right.
So adhere to that as well. Everybody unplug. When you're at the dinner table, have a little basket. Check your cell phone in before you come to dinner. If we're having a family movie, everybody put your cell phone down. We shouldn't be sitting here all of us texting. As well as no sleeping with the phone. We have a lot of data and research that shows that kids are on call. It has an absolute addictive response. We have lots of data that shows that. So if we teach our children unplug, keep it away from their head in particular, introduce them to an alarm clock, because they're going to tell you they need it to wake up.
Of course.
Right,
Here's an alarm clock, child, you know, to replace that.
You know, one of the things that I found as a parent that was the most difficult thing about them having a cell phone is the texting, is the instantaneous drama that can happen. And they'll be at school and somebody will get a text, did you know what so-and-so said about so-and-so? It's instantaneous, it is a huge issue.
It's a huge issue. So 1 in 3 children will admit to texting 3,000 texts a month. That's 2 hours a day of texting. The same centers that light up for heroin use light up when you send and receive a text. So the propensity for addiction is huge. So as parents, you've got to monitor that. Talk to your kids. And a bigger fear is the lack of development of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, as you and I are having a conversation, when I say something, I have to take in all that you respond with. With 93% of communication being nonverbal, a text goes out, you have no idea how that other person responds and feels, so you don't have to incorporate that into your personal experience. So that's a larger fear. So again, having these conversations with your child, that when you say it, it's forever. It's there. And how does that make that person feel? How do you think it makes them feel? And talk about feelings and emotions and not just flat words on a text.
Because we talk about this all the time. This generation, they really are nonverbal. I mean, they really don't really kind of
eye contact,
right? They don't shake firm, and they kind of do things a little differently. But cell phones can be a good tool.
Absolutely, a wonderful tool with some guidelines and parameters. And talk to your children about appropriate. You know, we've all been there where you hear somebody's conversation you do not want to hear or need to hear. Talk to them about when it's appropriate. When you have a hard conversation, have it in person. Say, listen, I'm not going to text you about this. I want to talk to you in person. So it's just an education and awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. So when we acknowledge that there are some issues and then we have conversations with our children, it will absolutely greatly increase their use of it as a tool.
Well, and the classic example is when you try to call your child, they won't answer the phone call. You text them, instantaneous
Absolutely.
response.
So that's part of your contract. When you see mom and dad, you pick up that phone.
Pick it up, buddy.
Hello.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You say that all the time.
I know.
Oh, goodness. I'm not at that age yet, but they're asking. They're in elementary school, and they're saying, "I want to. When can we get a cell phone?"
And they all want them. Again, it's want versus need. And again, putting some parameters. We do not hand at 15 and a half the kids the key to a car.
Right.
We give them some guidelines.
I've thrown a few cell phones out.
There you go.
Gone.
There you go.
My son didn't answer the phone once, and I said, "Okay, you lost that phone for a little bit."
Because it's a contract.
It's a contract.
You agreed to
It's
this
an agreement.
contract. You signed it.
And we remember it's a learning experience like everything else. So we don't want to punish them with it. We want to use it as a tool to learn responsibility. It's a fabulous tool for that.
Great tips.
Goodness.
Thank you so much.
Well, for more advice on how to help your teen disconnect, you can pick up this month's edition of Arizona Parenting Magazine, available now by visiting azparenting.com.